We are playing the Stanley Parable. This will be the last one, unfortunately. I know, it's tragic, but I think I'm getting to a point now where I know what this game is going to be like the whole time, and don't get me wrong, it's still absolutely hilarious. And anybody who hasn't played this, I heavily recommend that you go and do so. But for me personally, it's sad, but it's time to move on. But for now, whilst we're here, and it's streaming day as I would call it, we are going to carry on. It's time. So,
no matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Here we go again. Oh, the bucket.
Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled.
Anywhere they went together would be perfectly. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. Today is that day. So yeah, I have thoroughly enjoyed this this game, and it never ceases to make me laugh. Trust the completionist instinct. Just don't trust the completionist. The broom closet. Oh, the memories.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner? Well,
yes.
I've never. Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together.
Yeah.
Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years.
Yeah.
Let him have it.
I'm leaving.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
No.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands?
Mini-stands.
Stanley figures.
Great.
What about Stanlerines?
Stanlerines.
Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
I don't know, that sounds kind of stupid. Well, to be rich is a crime. To commit crimes isn't it rich? What a life it would be to have to just pick one. Interesting. Secretary. Today I become a secretary.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. but Stanley guessed the
Yay!
correct toe by sheer luck.
I remembered!
Bucket knew all along.
My brain!
Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Yeah. Oh!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn
I
between
thought I'd only
Stanlerines
found
and
two.
Figlies. What do you think, Stanley?
Figlies?
What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1?
Ugh.
Sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
We went by 2. I'm really confused. Let's see, it only did go up by 1. I don't remember. There I was talking about how big my brain's gone, and I can't remember now. I have to go watch the video. Remember to like and subscribe.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate.
Oh, I don't know.
It would
I think
be
I've been here
all
before.
Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Fine. Well, that's debatable, though.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
Whoop.
Mind Control Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
Most likely.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
It's a long way back. Death hole! Ah! Ah, whoa! I've never looked down like that before. Yeah!
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket, but what use is a sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere.
It's funny.
Farewell, Stanley.
Bye-bye, cruel world. Oh no.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
Ah. But again, we have not died. The Stanley Parable.
The death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket to behold.
The bucket welcomes you to the grand opening. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like the bucket itself, the human mind is frequently emptied within. Cavernous void, But through the use of an exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full of enriched and sustained knowledge of the bucket and its history. It is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind that what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will you change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye, continue to live as you were, in ignorance and darkness? Will you? I don't know. It's the fucking bucket in my opinion, but there we are.
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded
more than 25.
him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
Well, I don't know. I mean, who knows? A bucket with 2 handles. Revolutionary. We just have one of them, I'm sure. I don't know why it would need two handles, but I have seen buckets with two handles. The Inferno bucket. That looks pretty amazing, to be fair. Oh! Cave drawings of a bucket! Sounds like saying
No
tempura.
man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one.
No,
It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
I agree. The hanging bucket. Whoa. Can I? Oh! That is some scary stuff. There was me thinking, we're all gonna die! But that didn't happen. I keep forgetting there's no sprint button in this game. I've been recently playing Orcs Must Die, so like literally sprint forward. Yeah. The stress bucket. Yeah, that's coping strategies. Rest and relaxation. Am I meant to? I'm just coming back to where I was. Maybe this is the correct way, but I haven't found the correct thing. Yeah. Play that fucking music right. Ah! I pushed the bucket!
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong.
Get crushed. I knew it! We're gonna get crushed.
Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket
We
should
can.
take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world.
Goodbye, cruel world! But you know what they say about the end? The end is never the end. We're back again!
All of his co-workers were gone.
Gone!
What could it mean?
They're
Stanley
dead.
decided to go to the meeting room. A good bucket, a strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket. A bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Yes. Yes. Broom closet.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it?
No,
The
he's going to
broom
repeat again.
closet. It wants the bucket. You can coming to a staircase. Stanley and
Shut
the
up,
bucket walked
narrator man.
upstairs to the
Hang on.
boss's office.
I never chat at all. I never do.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Wasn't
Was
luck.
it the bucket knew all along? Was the
Yes.
bucket guiding him?
Yes.
Yes. This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Of course it is. I didn't think it was there. Couldn't see it. Let's go. Whee! So, we are going down the elevator again. Oh, happy days. So, at the end of the month, we've got Monster Hunter coming out
Stanley and the bucket
in February.
walked straight ahead
Just to let
through
you
the
all know.
large door that
I
read,
will be playing it.
Mind Control
I will be
Facility.
streaming it, most likely. Push the button, we're coming with the bucket. See if anything's
The
changed.
lights rose on an enormous room packed with television
Full of
screens.
televisions.
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
We will find out again. For the 15th time in the world.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly
Fine,
dropped the bucket
fine.
in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped.
monitored like guinea pigs.
I'll go with that. Is what's going on
The
there?
bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Don't worry, Bucket. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the
Yes.
bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do?
Maybe
What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first
be
place?
filled up, I guess.
These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Stanley's a reasonable person.
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
The bucket.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life.
No.
So he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends
We turned it off! For the second time, obviously.
Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil
mind control
machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching
an interesting goal.
movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
Uh-oh.
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
What?
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
No!
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket.
No!
Needed the soothing warmth of the bucket.
Throw the bucket over the top!
With the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Oh, it just ends. Okay. Oh, God. That was actually quite scary. I thought something was going to happen.
Gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had
Stanley decided, bucket.
The embrace of an old friend. A weathered companionship that stands the test of time. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chin. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
No.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes, good.
Said the bucket.
We're actually going to
Now
go pick
ride
up the
lift all
phone.
the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him,
Yeah.
and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Yeah.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Yep. We're going to pick up the phone.
Now pick up the phone.
What happened? Ooh.
This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And then, very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Oh, have I done this before? I can't even remember.
The
Yeah,
Stanley
I've done this
Parable
before.
reassurance bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him
No.
delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object?
Nope.
I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me. Oh, I'll try anyway. Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think, it can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location.
That's very
it.
important.
It doesn't do anything else. You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know, once upon a time it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Does it? It is kind of dirty to me.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection, but it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket. It's just a little more, what am I trying to say? Sturdier, more capable of transporting liquid. Better at moving an amount
bucket.
of water from one room to another. Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket. Why do I feel some need to point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket? Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. No. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do anything it asks. What's wrong with me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes, the bucket could tell me what to do in this troublesome situation. Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me. Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Did you close your eyes? I didn't. I gotta see what's going on. I can't go back to work. Oh, right. It just ended. Okay. I suppose that answers that question.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. The bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of them. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
No.
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
The bucket was wrong.
Left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Yeah. Will things be any different in the broom closet today?
Oh, Stanley.
No, he's going to keep repeating.
The broom closet. It wants the bucket. Coming to a staircase.
I've exhausted
Stanley
the
and
broom
bucket walked
closet.
upstairs to the boss's office.
I was going to say, I swear it's still used to open. I want to use the elevator. Down, please. I want to leave. I want to leave! Yeah, didn't he? I couldn't remember. I suppose that's one good thing about having
Stepping
problems
into
I
his
have.
manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation,
Oh no,
Stanley
I'm an
may have
idiot.
broken down
I
into
got it
an
right the
emotional
first time.
dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
It wasn't a
Was
guess.
it that the bucket knew all along?
No.
Was the bucket guiding him?
No.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
No. 2, 4, 6, 8. Never too late. Do. Loading. Here we go again. Wasn't a very long trip this time.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through
Yes.
a large door that read, Mind Control
Control
Facility.
facility.
The lights rose on an enormous room
Come
packed
on.
with television screens.
Open it up.
What horrible secret did this be? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Yahoo!
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock.
Huh.
Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs.
Yep.
The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Yeah. You're damn right.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had
Yes.
the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do?
More than likely.
Kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
We're going up
He
again.
screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control.
He is
Never.
a pirate.
He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
The bucket.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terror. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself?
Yep.
How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again.
What? Bird. Bird.
Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all.
Goose.
It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds
Honk.
all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the mental
Flamingos.
genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery.
Ah, we're
Stanley
repeating.
and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place.
Ah, what's the
through
penguin?
live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And
Penguins.
Stanley was happy.
They're very happy, isn't she? Oh, well, now we know what happens if we push no. Well.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
Not everyone is so lucky to have a bucket, but
I am.
Stanley is a very lucky fellow.
I am.
Very lucky indeed. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
No,
But Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
I'm going over there.
Cargo lift, yeah, good.
Said the bucket.
Now
Taking
ride
the
lift
bucket with
all
me.
the way to the top. There's
Take
something
it.
up there I need you to do.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
We're going this way.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says,
No buckets past this point.
Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here?
Because...
What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
Hmm.
I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please, step in here for a moment.
Cool. Oh. Is this a
Now
bucket?
then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us...
I'm going to say no to everything.
about what is or is not a bucket.
It depends.
Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Hey. Got it right.
Item 2. Is
No.
this a bucket? Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket.
I knew
not
it.
an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
No, it's not. Oh, that's definitely a
Is
bucket.
this a bucket?
Yes.
Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
I swear that's a bucket. Oh, look, it's a tractor again.
Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Correct. This is a bucket.
I knew it.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
No.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha.
I'm not sure how it can or cannot be. But there we are.
Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Yes.
Okay, you and I both know there isn't anything here. And I don't appreciate the implication that nothing is a bucket. We both clearly know that a bucket is something, and therefore nothing could possibly be something. Unless, in your twisted mind, have you somehow convinced yourself that a bucket is nothing?
Well, I
Answer me
mean-
straight, Stanley. Do you believe that nothing is a bucket?
Yes.
You know what? I'm too confused to even slow down. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket?
What
Mere
is a
moments ago I
bucket?
could
That
answer
is the
these questions
question.
with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket?
It's very possible.
Stanley,
Yes.
I can't keep doing this.
Yes, you are.
I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely. Okay, here we go.
No.
What happened? Is everything gone?
The game was a bucket.
Wait, was everything a bucket?
It was all a bucket.
Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay? And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
Hello. This is a recorded message scheduled either by you or a person in your place of work. The purpose of this message is to warn you about the dangers of recorded messages. If at any time you believe you are listening to a recorded message, please terminate it immediately and cease all flow of information from the recorded message into your perceptual sphere. Thank you, and have a pleasant day.
Was that it? Oh, okay. It was just a message to warn me about messages.
It takes a lot of humility to carry a bucket so magnificent.
It does
Stanley
indeed.
checked his ego and then proceeded on. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting.
I have 2 more places
Stanley
I want to
had
go.
felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the
And one of them
bucket
is
turned
really
out to be
quick.
Correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
Whee!
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to carry on much longer after that.
The meeting room. Yes, that's where everyone would be. Stanley
think?
just needed to get to the meeting room. Stanley cradled the bucket in a gentle embrace. Protective, yet delicate. Assertive, yet compassionate. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Nope.
Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him.
But
telling
Stanley
him that
has
the
a
employee
good idea.
lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go.
He did.
So the two of them detoured through the.
But Stanley went down here
and
instead.
walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
Nope. I'm going down. We're going down here.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually.
Oh no, we're here again.
You see, your friends and I are concerned for you.
No,
Stanley.
I
We've
didn't
come
run.
together here because we care
I
about
can't
you
remember
very
how we
much.
got here.
It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their
Baby's
favorite
face.
jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could
No.
make the Adventure Line go somewhere new. Yes, yes, that's what the fans want. Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
The music is back. Da 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 da. Da 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 da.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
I'm not giving the bucket up. I'm not doing it.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree?
Nope.
Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
No.
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable
I want to feed you the bucket.
Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The broom closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to hurry and feed it. We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. Quickly now, the fans are waiting. Do it, the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
No. I do love this game. It's funny.
The Bucket Destroyer, my prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
So now we're going to go back and we're going to go and do the whole quiz thing again. And I'm going to answer the questions correctly to see what happens after. Let's go. Oh, bucket's moved.
Stanley's bucket. The only co-worker he would ever truly need. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley had felt the bucket calling
I'm
to
confused
him,
now.
telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No.
Maybe.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room.
No.
Go somewhere else. The cargo lift. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
No.
Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was
We're
speaking
going to go
him.
back and we're
It
going to
should
go
have
and do
alarmed
the
him,
quiz.
Of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Apart from that, naturally. Because the bucket didn't actually want to do that.
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there.
Then
It
open up the
says,
shutters.
No buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless...
Because.
What if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket?
No, I don't know. What is a bucket?
About your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness. I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket.
Please, step in here for a moment.
Okay. Bye, cruel world. We're going to do a quiz.
Now then, I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket.
Yeah, I know the first two is
this
no.
should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket.
A bucket, yeah.
Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket.
It's
not
still
an
think it's
actual
funny.
bucket.
I know. I know. Item 2.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a 3D printed recreation of a bucket, not an actual bucket.
Well, I mean, technically, it is a bucket because it still does the job. So, I mean, speaking. Now, is this a bucket? Oh, yeah, that's a bucket. That's definitely a bucket.
Is this a bucket?
Yes.
Correct. This is a bucket.
I knew it. That's a tractor.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. This is a tractor and not a bucket.
I knew
To
it.
be honest, I just sort of put this one in here as a gimme, but I was starting to get concerned that even this might be too much for you. Thank you for not making me look like an idiot. Okay, next one.
Oh, well, that is the finest bucket you've ever seen.
Correct. This is a bucket.
See? A bucket. I knew it.
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Yeah, it looks like one to me.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
Come on.
Yes.
I know.
Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Well, no.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out.
Oh.
I lost all sense of
Is it just going to end again?
What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is?
Who's the creepy dude?
I, a bucket. Stanley, I can't keep doing this. I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had.
Is that the narrator?
I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No.
Okay, here we go.
No. No. Don't do it again. Oh. And there was me thinking it was going to change.
Is everything gone? Why did everything disappear? Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful news. We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now. It's delightful to get some clarity on that issue, but it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what, I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
No.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that.
Not again.
Who knows what that information might do to a person. All right, here we go.
No. God damn it.
Even now, Stanley's office was a distant memory. What did it look like? There was a computer, perhaps, and a painting. Was it a painting or a photo?
He could no longer recall.
Is Stanley, without the bucket, really Stanley at all? No.
No, he must
No,
have the
sure
bucket.
not. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his... This was not the correct way.
No,
to
it's
meeting
not the
room.
correct way.
Stanley
But
had felt
this is the
bucket
way.
calling to him, telling him that the Empire Lounge was simply the place to be.
We're going to
And here
break
it
the game
was.
this
Had
time.
the bucket turned out to be correct? Well, no, never mind. The bucket was wrong.
No.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back. to the
No.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else.
We're
The
going
cargo
somewhere else.
lift. Good.
Said the bucket.
Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's
Ride the
something up there I
tiger.
need you to do.
Stanley did not question
Hello,
why or
Sans
how
the
this bucket
skeleton.
was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets don't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he
Yes.
unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Yes. This way.
In here.
Said the bucket.
Go into this dark room over here.
Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
We're pulling the power from the phone.
Now pick up the phone.
Said
No.
the bucket.
Pick up the phone.
No.
Whoa, hold on. Why did you unplug the phone?
Because.
Were you trying to resist the bucket's orders? Stanley, I was joking. Obviously, the bucket isn't talking to you and telling you to do things.
How do you know?
It was a joke.
How do you
Don't
know?
you get the joke? It's funny, Stanley. A talking bucket.
Can't you see? Oh, goodness. I must have really bungled up the delivery if you actually took me seriously. Where did I mess up the joke? Should I have paused for longer or spoken quicker? Comedic timing is so difficult. I wish I were better at it, but there isn't exactly an instructional video on comedy that one can watch to fully... Oh, wait, yes, there is. It's sitting right here. Let's take a look.
What is comedic timing?
Oh, God.
What is comedic timing? How does it work? How long should it last? How can it be used to effectively silence your political enemies? And more importantly, can it be taught in its entirety within 90 seconds? Thankfully, the answer to all of these questions is
I assume.
yes. Let's dive deeper. If you've ever told a joke or made someone laugh, in all likelihood, you did it while standing 50 to 80 centimeters from them in a room of no more than 76 degrees Fahrenheit, with one of your arms raised straight upward at a 15-degree angle from your body. These are the optimal conditions
Why?
for good comedic timing. To begin the joke, start by stating and spelling your name. Next, provide a brief synopsis of the joke, including the specific times at which the recipient of the joke will laugh, and then spell out your name a second time. With these steps complete, it's time to begin the humor. Speak the entire joke in no more than 18 seconds and no less than 13 and a half, pausing only for bathroom breaks when necessary. When the joke has concluded, it is customary to inform your listener that the joke is over by declaring in your loudest possible voice, "I'm Dunny with the funny." Let's practice screaming, "I'm Dunny, with the funny," now.
I'm Dunny with the funny.
Good. This saying is a perfect example of expectations management, which is the cornerstone of good comedy. Finally, it's time to hand out surveys. Collecting hard data from your audience on how rapt they were throughout the joke is the only way to grow or learn as a comedian. An effective survey should be no less than 10 pages long and should include the same question reprinted several times, just to ensure the survey taker is actually paying attention and not simply filling in answers at random. And that's all there is. With these strategies at your disposal, you'll have audiences doubled over in laughter and even tripled over in laughter in no time at all. Just remember to let them stop laughing at some point, you gut-busting little scamp. After all, we're each of us needed on the front lines of the war to fight the 12-legged invaders who threaten our very existence and to very likely die in a hailstorm of bullets and mandibles. All of us must be prepared to give our lives to this noble cause, just as our children must do after us, and their children after them. Godspeed, and may Earth reign supreme.
Hey, goodness, this video is outdated, isn't it? Well, no
I love
matter.
it.
I think the fundamentals of proper comedic timing are still as relevant today as they were back then. So with that in mind, I believe the only way forward is for us to return to the two doors and walk through all of this again. So I can try telling my story with more appropriate comedic delivery. Come along, let's head back.
No. Oh. Okay. I'll go for that door.
I can feel it. This time, I'm really going to nail the delivery. You'll be in
Hope so.
stitches. A talking bucket, you'll say? How ridiculous. How absurd. What a hilarious concept. The king of comedy. That's what you'll call me. Thank goodness we had the instructional video. Otherwise, who knows where we'd be right now.
Well, I mean, I've been pretty much everywhere.
The bucket spoke to Stanley. The bucket spoke. The bucket spoke. Oh, I'll figure it out on the fly. No need to overthink things.
What? Very confused. Okay.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. What? We're back at the phone already? No. What's going on? There was supposed to be several rooms leading up
Yeah,
to this.
it was, yeah.
There was supposed to be a build-up to this point. A dramatic display of remarkable comedic wit which culminates in this scene with the phone. But now the timing's completely off. The joke will never land. Well, not the way it was meant to. And it's all my fault. I must have forgotten that the phone room comes immediately after the two doors room. What an egregious mistake.
It doesn't, but
I've made
okay.
a fool of myself. I don't deserve the title of King of Comedy. I'm nothing. I'm not even the lowliest joke-telling whelp.
No.
I think I need to go back. And
No!
rewatch that
No, not
instruction
again!
Yes, sure. That will help me improve my...
No, God!
Here we go. You ready?
Thank
When
God.
Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Right. Yes, on the right.
What? We're back at the phone already? No.
Oh.
Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
Right. Right.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a
It's
set
gonna
of
keep
two
going
open
right until it
doors,
happens.
they entered the door on the left.
Right.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready?
We're gonna keep going
When
right until he
Stanley
blocks
and
that
the
door,
bucket
because he
came
will.
To a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left.
He's gonna block the door off, he will. Dumb.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go. You ready? When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors,
One more,
they entered
one more.
the door on the left.
Oh my God.
What? We're back at the phone already? No. Here we go.
Fine.
When Stanley and the bucket came to a set of two open doors, they entered the door on the left. No. You were supposed to go through the door on the right, leading back to the phone. Did you not even look at the instructional video? I think this is all covered very clearly. There's no way I can make the comedic timing work now. It's done. The joke is completely done and over. It's all your fault, Stanley. I'm going to be ridiculed in the community of other joke writers. I'm going to be shamed at every one of our meetings from
Probably.
now on. All because you couldn't watch a simple
Hey,
video and take a
dude,
hint.
open the
Are
door.
you proud of yourself for bringing me down, Stanley? Are you proud?
Oh, okay. Oh.
Stanley, you love the bucket so much it's like you... it's as though all of your other most prized possessions pale in comparison. Yes. Well, let me try that again, Stanley. I heard that you are pale with shame over how unabashedly in love with a bucket you are. No? Still not? It's pale with shame. Pale with shame. Pale... What's another word to describe a bucket?
Doll.
Stanley, this bucket is so metal. I think I saw it playing guitar. No. No. Getting away from making fun of Stanley's obsession with the bucket, which was the whole point of this. I'm never going to be jokes. I need more instructional videos. That's exactly what it is. That's what will make me the king of comedy.
King of comedy.
More instructional videos. Let's see.
God. Blue.
Just a step through this door, Stanley thought to himself. That's all I need. If I can make it through this door, I can make it through them all.
As Stanley lifted his bucket, he felt a connection to all buckets everywhere.
Yes,
This
I
adventure,
did.
He decided was for all. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and
I've
entered
done
the
all
door
that.
on his left. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Did. Do I think I might have exhausted it?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Yeah, by sheer luck.
The bucket knew all along. Was
Maybe.
the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Oh, I know what we're gonna do. I gotta do the special ending again. With, you know, the going up and down the elevators with the bucket. That's what I gotta do. That's what I gotta do. We're doing that.
Wait, Stanley said to the bucket. Can we go back up? When I was pressing those keypad buttons, there was something very intriguing about the number 3. I want to go back so I can try pressing the number 3 again. The bucket said nothing.
Was there? I may have to go back and push number 3. Let's go back and push number 3. Let's go see. I want to go see. Open, says me.
Here we are, said Stanley. Now I'm going to try out that number 3 button. He took the bucket over to the keypad and began absolute... Wow, he said. The number 3 is such a special button. I'm having the time of my life. Stanley looked expectantly at the bucket, but the bucket remained silent. This was a shock to Stanley, who had always felt such a connection with the bucket. How was this not as exciting to the bucket as it was to him? Once Stanley had had enough of the number 3, he got back in the elevator.
Okay, I guess I'll go back down then, because obviously, clearly there's something exciting with the bucket, so we'll go back down.
Perhaps the bucket had missed something. Perhaps it had not seen how much joy Stanley got from slamming the
It doesn't
number 3
understand.
repeatedly.
It just doesn't understand me. I have needs. Go back up. Go back up.
No, said Stanley to the bucket. You can't go on yet. Not till you understand how much the number 3 means to me. You and I have been through so much together, and I just want you to see what I see. Feel the happiness I feel. He smiled at the bucket, and the bucket said nothing.
Yeah, well, it's a bucket, that's why.
Here we go, said Stanley. This time I'll really show you. He ran to the number 3 and began to wail on it like a musician on a beloved instrument, weaving a concerto of truth and passion. He wielded the number 3 like a fine artist would wield a paintbrush. He told stories through the number 3, stories of his dreams and hopes and fears. And the whole time, he looked to his bucket for a reaction of some kind. Anything to let him know that the bucket appreciated what he was doing. The bucket conveyed absolutely nothing at all, only silence. Crushed by a wave of dejection, Stanley returned to the elevator.
Oh, it's a real shame.
Stanley and the bucket were so close. They'd always been there for one another. Why suddenly could the bucket not connect with this passion of Stanley's? The question caused Stanley to ruminate the whole way down the elevator. He knew that there must be a way to get through to the bucket, to communicate fully with his dear friend. Surely there was a solution, mustn't there be?
Why? I mean, some people can't be spoken to. Yeah.
Said Stanley. I know what to do. I know how to fully express this feeling in my heart. He decided right then and there that he would hold a press conference where he would speak to the public on all matters relating to pressing the number 3 over and over. He would elaborate fully on what the number 3 meant to him and why he felt so alive when pressing it. Then the bucket would be able to see his joy through the eyes of others. It would get to see the world react to this discovery of Stanley's.
Maybe.
And it would be through the public eye that the bucket would finally understand Stanley's work.
Yeah!
For months, he advertised and marketed his press conference, building excitement around it, developing and rehearsing it, until it couldn't be refined a single measure further. When the big day arrived, Stanley was as prepared as he'd ever been for anything in his life.
The world's first sentient machine. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
This was it. One last chance to win the bucket over. One opportunity to share a true connection with a loved one.
Just let you know, people, this could be the last time. This could be the last thing we do.
There was no one here. Nobody had come to the press conference to hear Stanley speak, to listen to him talk about what it really means to press the number 3 on a keypad over and over. He was unloved, uninteresting. He was a failure. And in that moment, Stanley knew that the bucket would never again take him seriously. There would be no connection, no deeper understanding. The bucket merely sat there in his arms, indifferent. And so it began that slowly, over many years, the two of them grew more and more distant. They spoke less and less, neither wishing to state the obvious, that any sense of real respect between them had eroded since that day at the press conference. There would be no more games, no more long conversations about passion and pursuit, only a silence that consumed the space between friends. And Stanley, having for once in his life discovered the warmth and comfort of true companionship, was cast back into the unremarkable normalcy of loneliness.
That's so sad. But there we are. So I think we... Oh my god, what's going on?
Wait, Stanley thought to himself. Am I sure that the orders stopped coming in? How is that possible? They never stopped. Surely I was mistaken.
What new mysteries lay in store for our bucket-loving heroes today? Let's find out.
I was going to
Stanley
sob.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere
Whee!
else.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
So, I'm actually going to end it there. This is, as far as I'm concerned, the finale of this. We've done everything, I think. I'm pretty sure. I probably missed one or two things, but they are very specific, and I do not have the time or patience to go through that right now. So, thank you for watching the entire series if you have. This has been a really fun, entertaining game, and completely different to what I would normally play. So yeah, I recommend it heavily if you're into having a laugh, or, oddly enough, just watch the video. Just watch my video. Just do that. It's all good if you want to do that. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will be back. So yeah, see you again soon. Bye bye.